The sudden appearance of objects in unexpected places is one of history's most baffling and bizarre phenomena. Falls of amphibians, fish, and artifacts from the sky have been recorded from earliest times. However, since the ancients could no more explain rain, hail, and snow than they could account for precipitations of fish or stones, they regarded such manifestations as being of divine origin with the dawning of modern scientific thought. In the 17th century, any falls or objects from the sky were neatly divided into either the meteorological kind, which could now be understood, or the remarkable kind, which were now dismissed as illusions or hoaxes. In 1772, a committee of the Académie Française investigated the fall of stone that had landed with a loud explosion in Luce, a small village in the province of Maine. The committee said that it was a self-evident absurdity that stones could exist in the sky. As a consequence, they concluded that the one in Luce could not have fallen, but must have been unearthed by lightning, which must have caused the explosion and left the stone hot. This attitude towards meteorites was abandoned in the 19th century, in the face of the overwhelming evidence for their existence. A telling lesson, perhaps, for those who discount the existence of paranormal phenomena without even examining the evidence. The most common falls of creatures from the sky have been of frogs and fish. The earliest record of such falls comes from the Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder, who believed that they were due to frog and fish seed in the soil being brought to life by rain. When this idea was discounted, it was suggested that rain flushed out frogs from their hiding places in the ground. Then in the 16th century, the Italian physician, mathematician, and astrologer Jerome Cardan put forward a new theory that a whirlwind or waterspout lifted up the fish or frogs and deposited them at some distance away. This hypothesis has been attacked on the grounds that a whirlwind or waterspout, not being selective, would also gather up mud, stones, plants, and other matter and deposit these too. And when frogs or fish have been observed to fall, nothing else has been reported to have come down with them. Another objection has been that some falls have taken place on clear, still days, and others have been deposited on small, clearly defined areas. Neither of these circumstances fits in with the common conception of a whirlwind. The book, A Catalogue of Meteorites and Fireballs from AD 2 to AD 1860, first published in 1860 by the English astronomer R.P. Gregg, listed many bizarre items said to have fallen in the company of meteorites, including blood and gelatinous substances. But from about 1865, scientific literature gradually excluded reports of such falls from the sky and of other paranormal phenomena, damning them as old wives' tales. Reported precipitations of animals and objects returned to the realm of public record in the early 20th century thanks to the work of Charles Fort. In the Book of the Damned, written in 1919, he bombarded the reader with accounts not only of rains of frogs and fish, but also of falling ice, ashes, mud, sulfur, bricks, cinders, stone axes, nails, iron chains, snakes, eels, ants, worms, meat, seeds, nuts, and much else. And in modern times, well-documented accounts of such precipitations have continued to accumulate. The following is a small sampling of the most dramatic. During a thunderstorm in the summer of 1926, Mr. W. Walker, a golf caddy of Evansville, IN, watched the absolute amazement with the golfers on the course as thousands of frogs came right down with the rain about the size of nickels. They were alive and jumping. In October 1987, during a torrential rainstorm, a host of minute rose-colored albino European common frogs fell to earth around Stroud in Gloucestershire, England. Two further falls of Cirencester only a fortnight earlier, at about the same time that a fine sand, allegedly airborne from the Sahara Desert, was deposited all over the country. A fourth fall of frogs also took place in the Charlton Kings area of Cheltenham in the same country. According to one witness, the frogs bounced off umbrellas and pavements and hopped off to nearby streams and gardens. The Gloucester Trust for Nature Conservancy investigated the theory that these creatures had arrived with the sand, possibly carried in atmospheric globules of water, across land and sea. On the evening of August 20th, 1984, a vast number of freshwater shad fell from a cloudless sky around Mr. and Mrs. A.D. Elmers and their neighbor Walter Davies as they stood in the driveway of the Elmer's house in Bonita, California. The star witnesses described the fish as landing with harsh splats. Shad were known to inhabit the Sweetwater Reservoir about 2 miles away, but no waterspout capable of lifting the fish had been reported on that particular evening. The following year, on April 21st, during a heavy rainstorm in the area of St. Cloud, Minnesota, more than 100 miles inland, 2 residents were perplexed to see a white thing with 5 legs in their backyard. It was a starfish. When they turned on the outside lights, they saw more on their lawn. Others were found in the neighboring garden. The starfish were identified as the species that usually inhabited the ocean off Florida, more than 1,000 miles away. Thousands of dead sardines fell like a sheet of silver rain on February 6, 1989, around the house of Harold and Deborah Deegan of Rosewood in Queensland, Australia. The Deacons gathered a bowl full for their cat and a few more to keep as souvenirs. The rest were gobbled up by kookaburras, a type of Australian bird. On an otherwise peaceful night in November 1984, Derek and Adrian Heather and White of Accrington, Lancashire, England, were awakened in the night by a tapping on the roof that lasted for an hour or more. The next morning, they found at least 300 out of season and quite fresh apples on their back lawn, on the path, and in hedges. More were found in nearby gardens. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my stories, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.